Welcome to Honestly Rated, and today we'll be talking about your favorite honey-making man, Swarm. Swarm is probably my favorite giant. I really like how he looks, I like his voice, and I have a lot of nostalgia for the guy. But one thing that I never really took a critical lens of was overall his moveset. And since someone suggested that I should do Swarm, I'm going to take my chances now. So we're going to take a look at his moveset and overall design of that moveset to really see how good Swarm was, really. But before we jump into the actual moveset, let me give you Swarm's lore. Swarm was part of a hive of 9,000 bees, and with it, he kinda kept growing and growing and growing. And I don't know if you've ever seen a hive, but it's not really like a house that can fit a monstrous bee. So because of it, he practically got kicked out and thrown at the curb. And if it didn't get bad enough, a lot of people aren't really fond of big monstrous bees, so he was kinda shunned by a lot of places, and was just kinda wandering Skylands all alone. But that's until he found the giants where, everybody else there is also really big. So, he kind of felt more at home, joined in with them, tried to beat up the Arcans to save Skylands, and, became a Skylander. Last thing I also like to say is that if you want to see some more Honestly Rated, there's a place in the description that has every single one there. And if you want to stay up to date with these, subscribing helps me out the most. But these do also come out every single Saturday, unless there's like some type of holiday or for some reason, I just do it on a different day. But these do normally come out every single Saturday. And another thing is that if you want to see your Skylander potentially on the next Honestly Rated, leaving it down in the comments lets me know perfectly which one you want to see next. So, with all that, let's see how sharp those stingers really are on Swarm. Starting off, we have the Barbed Blades and Flight of the Wasp. Swarm's starting kit is honestly pretty nice. First off, with the Barbed Blades, it is a simple melee move that hits multiple enemies, does 41 damage, and does a little bit of minor pushback at certain points. It's a pretty good move. But there's only one problem I have with it, and that being a hitbox issue with his second swing. For some reason, if enemies are a little too close, or maybe just giant enemies in general, I just don't see this move hit. And that sucks because he's a giant, so any lost time on trying to hit things means you're going to have to play the charade of running away, then coming back and hitting him again, and that obviously isn't always super fun. But luckily, with this Flight of the Wasp, that is kind of broken a bit. Reason being is that this move allows you to activate your wings, allows you to move faster, engage and disengage in fights a lot easier comparatively to other giants. And another thing it lets you do too is shoot projectiles. This is very good because any melee character with a projectile is normally better unless that projectile sucks dick, but luckily this one doesn't. It does it pretty well actually. We have kind of like a self-turreting mode where it actively looks for enemies so you can back away from fights and still be shooting and still be doing damage, even though it's not a lot of damage. It also has splash damage, so if you get a bunch of enemies kind of grouped up together, and you can just keep hitting them, and you'll hit multiple at once and hopefully kill them, and they won't live anymore, because, that's like the whole aim of the game. And overall, I enjoy these two moves, and they work pretty well together. Start off by going up to enemies, hit them a couple times. Right when you see they're about to hit, disengage with your flight mode and then keep shooting at them. And whenever you feel ready again, just kind of rinse and repeat, go in and out. And it's pretty fun. So, first two moves, pretty good. Next up is going to be the Sharpened Barbs and Winging It. These two upgrades are just upgrades for the starting move of Swarm. First one being Winging It, and personally, it's a good one. It makes you go faster in flight mode, which is perfectly fine by me. I already like the speed from the beginning, so making it a little bit faster doesn't hurt me in any type of way. And then the other one also being that you can use it for longer, which is always nice, because, I don't have to stop to keep winging it over and over again. And another thing I like about this move too is that if you go look at the profile picture for the move itself, it just reminds me of Wolverine from Marvel Rivals. Like, I've been playing that game a lot, so like that's the only thing I can see in there, and I find it really funny now. Then we have Sharpened Barbs, which allows you to do more damage with your melee, and then also get a rapid flurry attack that happens after you do 3 hits. The nice thing about it is that it knocks down enemies. It also has less damage though, but overall, that's still pretty cool. It allows you to go into flight mode, just do a bunch of, chip damage to them, or you can honestly just set up another one if the enemy takes enough time to set up their move. And overall, it's great in that sense. But one thing that I hate about this move in general, and moves like it, is that it only prioritizes one set of a move, even though it doesn't make any sense. Why doesn't the projectile, the one that you use when you go into Flight of Wasp, also get a damage upgrade? From my eyes, when I look at Swarm, when I go into flight mode, I don't see him using a shittier version of the barbs. It's the same fucking thing he's using to swing with. Yeah, he's not using like his wrist to like do the attack, so it should do less damage, but the damage upgrade should still be there. It's not like he sharpens his barbs and then he goes into flight mode and then they're instantly shittier, and it's something that I'm going to see in the future, because they're just going to put a move in the future that says, hey, flight mode barbs now they do extra damage. And it's just there to pad out the fucking upgrades and overall not have to think about another one. It's just laziness. and I hate when they do it. I've seen it in other Skylanders, but Swarm, you shouldn't be part of this. I like you too much for you to be a part of this, and I hate it. And I hate it with a good amount of passion. Last up on the primary, we have Swarm Form and Stinger Shot. With these final 2 upgrades for Swarm, we finally get our 3rd move, called Swarm Form. But before we talk about that one, let me talk about one that I can kind of clear up really quickly, and that is Stinger Shot. Stinger Shot allows you to make an X with your hands with your primary fire if you hold it down long enough, and it does 88 damage. It's actually a pretty good move, and it's a one that kind of utilizes a lot of things about Swarm, you know? With his flight mode, you can get a lot of space between enemies and just start firing these bitches out, and if you ever want to get close, because it does do a little bit of minor pushback, you can do one of these, get in, start swinging at them. It's overall a great move. But now we go into the shit one, the really bad one, which is Swarm Form, which really sucks. Because again, this is his 3rd move, and what does it exactly do? I honestly don't know. It allows you to turn into a bunch of bees and do 13 damage at a very constant pace, but that has like no utility to it. Small enemies, I can just crush with my legs. I can play soccer with their dead body between my feet and score a goal with them. I don't have to attack them. This move has no uses with that. And then any enemy that is bigger, that has actually a health pool that's not 1, why would you use this? You have to stand right next to the enemy to hit them. There is absolutely no use to it. Maybe it was better back in Giants where you couldn't jump because then you would have to just kind of walk past enemies, and maybe that would be the case. But at the same time, I feel like flying is still better in that case because, again, you get to fire at a higher damage, not at the same speed, but at the same time, still make pretty good pace. I don't know. It's just a completely shit move that does have a whole path like dedicated to it, so maybe it could be good in there. And there's only one way to find out, so let's get to it. First, we go into the Barbarious Avenger with the Razor Wings. Now, even though this move looks a little goofy and doesn't seem really practical, it is actually somewhat of a decent upgrade. And there's 2 reasons why. The first one is just kind of how Swarm works. Since you go into projectile form, and usually if you're playing at a higher difficulty and you're not wanting to get hit, you'll probably be in there a lot. And something with it is that there's a lot of speed in Swarm form. Enough where if you have a somewhat decently sized like pool of enemies, sometimes they get split around the middle area. And with it, you can kind of utilize it by kind of weaving yourself through enemies and hitting enemies in front of you and behind you. And obviously if there's enemies coming around you, pause, and just kind of circling around you, it's obviously nice just to hit them from the back. Again, another pause. And with it, it's actually just ain't too bad because of it. Now, is it practical? No. I would never just like instantly try to fucking moonwalk on my enemies and do damage that way. It does 13. But unlike Swarm form, I'm still getting value because I'm still shooting with my natural move. And that was a really bad voice crack. Holy shit, there's a lot of weird things happening in this one. But still, overall, ain't bad. Then we have the second reason, but I can't tell you. Why? Because it deals with the Soul Gem, and I want to leave the Soul Gem for a surprise if you haven't seen it yet. So I'll try to talk about it when we get there next. Then for the last two, we have Better Barb Blast and Ultimate Barbs. With this next upgrade, I kind of want to do some visualization with it. So I want you to stick out your hand and close your fist, right? Now just make a fist, right? And I'll tell you when to move a finger. So with these last two upgrades, they're damage upgrades, right? The first one is called Barbs Blasted Bitches. At least that's what I call it. And what it does, it allows you to do more damage while in your flying mode, alright? And that fucking sucks, because I told you that was going to happen when I saw the other one, right? I said, hey, they're going to do it because they're lazy. And they, guess what? They fucking were. And they put it in the top path, which is such a stupid fucking thing to do, right? So I fucking hate it. I think they should have just merged the two. But whatever, alright? We're going to give it a sideways thumb. So just stick out your thumb, right? The next one is another damage upgrade. So we upgraded the melee, we upgraded the range. What could they upgrade next? They upgrade the melee and the range in the same upgrade. Oh, wow. So the first two that we just saw for damage upgrades, we couldn't put them all in one. But the next one that we do, we could put them all in one. You know what finger they gave us with that one? They gave us the middle one. They flipped us off. Why did they do this? It's one of the most two hypocritical moves I've ever seen, right next to each other. The first one shows off, hey, we're going to split these two because we can't think of a move to give the guy. Next one, hey, we're going to combine the two to make another separate move because we can't think of shit. Why? I hate this. I hate this path because of it. Is it good? I guess. I like doing more damage. It's really nice. But I fucking hate how it was designed. Now we're on to the Wasp Stormer path, where we have Swarm Storm and Insectsplosion. These first two for the path aren't bad, but also ain't the greatest. The first one with Swarm Storm it just isn't big enough. Like, it is nice not having to literally breathe down the throats of the enemies to deal damage, but at the same time, it still isn't too great. And it's also doing 15 now, and clearly to the shit 13. But again, it still isn't doing as much as just our normal blades as a projectile, and that's a lot safer to use. Luckily, they did give us a lot more of a ranged type of use of it, and that is with the Insect Explosion. And Explosion actually isn't bad, like, design-wise. You know, a bunch of bugs fly out, you do 64 damage, and it pushes back enemies a good amount, sometimes. It doesn't do it all the time. The only problem I have with it is that it has a very long lingering after you use the move. There's just, for some reason, a long time before you can actually move and do anything else. So, the way to actually get around this, though, is just to instantly switch out and go back into flying form. You never really want to be inside your B form after you do one move. And then again, it's just because of that slowdown. If it didn't do that, I would think of it as a lot better. If you could move around and use this move, it would be a lot better. But no, they like make you stand still using this move, and you can't do anything about it. So just switching out and then back in is a lot faster and a lot safer to use it, and actually makes the move not that bad. I won't lie, it's not that bad. Last up for this path, we have the B Cleaver. In the same vein as our Insect Explosion, it's a really long move that has a lot of wind-up time and downtime after using, but it does pretty solid damage at 72. And a nice property that this one has that the other one doesn't is that this one actually pops up enemies very consistently, but at the same time doesn't hit as big as a broad as the Insect Explosion. So, you know, you kind of lose it, but it's still really nice. And if you do that trick where you just go back into your normal form after using the move, you can move instantly. But if you don't, it's a long wait until you can go again. And again, since it's hitting less, you'll probably get hit even more. So, I guess there's a trade-off there. It's sometimes worth it with smaller groups of enemies, but when you have like a lot of enemies chasing you, you probably don't want to use it. And overall, these upgrades don't really make the B form that much greater. It does help it a bit and actually make it usable, but it still isn't too crazy. Last up we have is B is for the Butt Stinger. This allows us to shoot another projectile out while we're in our flight form, and it does have a different couple of properties than our normal projectiles. For one, it tracks enemies. It actively looks for them and will go towards them even when they're moving. Another one is that it shoots from his ass, so you have to be moonwalking towards enemies, which is exactly why that I said the top one with the razor wings is nice, because you can combo this while going up to enemies or backing yourself into enemies and doing a nice amount of damage. It also does 24 damage instead of the 22 that you would get with the top path, or the 19 if you pick the bottom path, and is overall something you can combo in when shooting your normal projectile. Since they're two different buttons, if you can press both at the same time, or you put two fingers there, you can shoot both, and it does pretty solid amount of damage. It also doesn't have any splash damage too, though. So, yeah, it has a good amount of different properties. Is it a good soul gem? I guess. It ain't bad, and I do find it to be pretty useful, but it does hurt your fingers after a while, so, you know, just be warned. With that, that was every single move Swarm had to offer. And honestly, I'm kind of disappointed. Design-wise, he was kind of missing in a lot of areas, especially with those stupid fucking damage upgrades. Then also with his standard move, I just found to be very unuseful. And path-wise, I guess they weren't too bad. But overall, his overall score is probably going to have to be a 2.5 out of 5. The reason why I gave him such a low score, or a score lower than normal, is that he just isn't that great when it comes up to design. His damage, again, you heard me complain about it before. Why split it into two and then make another move that's all in one? That just shows that you could have done that, but you didn't. And I think they should have. In my head, what they should have done was take the Stinger Shot, put it in the top path, move the one for the damage, combine it into one, put in the primary path, then think of another move just to put in the primary path. Because then, at least then, it would at least look complete, right? And you can keep the other damage one. I was kind of fine with that. It's just the kind of hypocrisy to it of splitting it into two, then making one that's all in one. Because you don't need them if you just make one into one and then make another and the other. It's still kind of lazy, but at least the damage kind of makes up for it, because Storm having more damage for his shots out of his hands is nice. Like, that is something that I do desire a good amount. But it's just really shit how they did it. Then, another thing too is, again, that third move. I hate that move. And even with the bottom path, it doesn't make it too much better, just because they didn't really go after the move itself. They just got it a bunch of add-ons. And with those add-ons, it does make it nice, it does make it usable, but its standard core of the move, I would barely even use. Before I went to the bottom path, I would never even use it because it just has no use with it. And then everything else is pretty fun. Again, I really liked his beginning. I just like his standard shots and his normal speed. I think that works really well with the Giant. So, yeah, he's just a little bit below a normal Skylander or a standard Skylander just because of the design flaws that I see and his third move being absolute fucking shit. But with that, that has been Swarm, honestly rated. Thank you guys for watching all the way through. If I sound a little different today, I'm sick, so that sucks. You know, I have a sore throat, but overall, you know, it was still fun to make this. Kind of sad, though, that he kind of sucks a bit. I didn't really want that to be the case, but I gotta be honest with you guys. He's just not too great. Let me know what you think about Swarm in the comments. Almost said Storm. And let me know what characters you also want to see for the next Honestly Rated. Check out my playlist if you want to see some more videos. And if you see yourself coming back to these and you're still not subscribed, what's stopping you? You know, there's nothing stopping. I'm not stopping you. I actually fully endorse you subscribing to me, so that would be nice. But overall, thank you guys for watching again. And I hope to see you and everybody else in the next one. Peace.